Hello and welcome. In this video today, I've got for you what I think is a sleeper hit. I know that the prices across the tech spectrum have been going up. If you're looking particularly for a two-in-one tablet, but you don't want to spend the big bucks that you need to for a Microsoft Surface or even an iPad setup with a keyboard and a cover to get the same experience and a stylish, you're going to be shelling out big bucks. This here is a contender to that crown, or at least a contender. So here we have a Chuwi tablet. So this is a lesser known brand here in North America, but fairly popular and fairly common in China. So what this device brings to the table, I think brings a lot of value, a lot of packs in a lot of punch here, and is probably a great bet for a select few people here that are looking for that tablet slash two-in-one experience. Let's talk quickly about a few different accessories here you can pick up from the Chwui website when you're purchasing this tablet. We've got, of course, here a magnetic felt angleable stand here that you can use to cover this from the rear, but also to use as a stand. So if you attach it here, it magnetically attaches to the device. It's sturdy, it doesn't fall off easily, so it helps to protect this device. In addition, you can purchase a la what you'd see from the Surface tablet or any of the other two-in-one tablets from Dell or HP or the whole category that's defined itself now. You've got a keyboard here with a built-in trackpad. It's got a nice soft touch surface to it. Nicely sized keys with a little bit of tactility there. Not too bad overall. It's a decent typing experience. And you've got a white backlight here. This can be bundled as an accessory when you're purchasing the device or even purchased separately. So it attaches with these pogo pins here, as you can see, very much like what you'd see with a Microsoft Surface. Place it down, cover the tablet, and when you hear that nice click, you know that you've attached it. Now, this stand here, as I mentioned, you can bend it. It's a little bit tricky to get your fingernails in there, but you can bend it to various different angles and it holds up nicely. You get a nice touchable surface. It's not going to wobble on you. It's not going to fall over. Especially with the keyboard attached, you get a little bit more surface area here on the bottom. It keeps this nice and steady and angles it well so you can actually do your data entry and use this as a proper two-in-one. This is called the Hi10 H7. This is new for 2024 and includes 4,000 levels of pressure sensitivity. It is powered by a single quadruple A battery, so that's a nice option if you're traveling or if you use this thing quite often. And you have the two traditional buttons you'd see on most styli. So here you have a button which is often used for erase, and you have another button here which can be a right click, or you can configure it for some other functionality. So any stylus pretty much should work with this device. All right, let's talk quickly about the specs that are on board this device here. So the highlight of this is going to be this display. We've got a 3K, 300 nits brightness, a 3:2 aspect ratio display here, 300 nits of brightness, 12.96 inches, and of course it's a touch-enabled display with a digitizer, so you can use that, stylish. That said, in addition, you've got an Intel N100. That's a quad-core CPU. No hyper-threading there though. It is a 12th generation CPU, so you're getting something fairly modern. It's got a metal unibody design here, as I mentioned, about 780 grams, so not the lightest out there, but it is fairly thin, 9 millimeters only. We've got 12 gigs of LPDDR5 at 4000 megahertz. We've also got a 512 gig SSD, something you're not going to get without very expensive upgrades in an iPad counterpart or even an equivalent Microsoft Surface. Generally those companies cheap out on the amount of RAM that you're getting and the SSDs and then bundle those in with some very expensive upgrades. It's got Windows 11 Home licensed. That means you can basically do everything you can on your desktop or a traditional laptop. Also got Wi-Fi 6 on board here with Bluetooth 5.2, so you're connected. And we've got a 5 megapixel camera here up front in the center and an 8 megapixel autofocus camera on the rear of this device. It does have a 36 watt hour battery, but also bundled with it is a 36 watt hour charger that Chwui nicely bundles with this device, so you can use that to top up. Now let's talk quickly about the port situation here before we jump in and start looking at the other aspects of this device. On the left hand side of this device, we've got two USB-C ports. Both of these are power delivery enabled, so you can plug into either of these ports to charge. Of course, you'll get the display port alt mode out for hooking up to an external monitor, and we've got a mini HDMI port on here with some indicators for operation of the device. On the top here, we've got just just a power button with a volume toggle or rocker, and we've got some venting here for heat exhaust, as this device does use an Intel CPU, and no matter how you cut it, those things get hot. And on the right hand side, we've got here a combo headphone, microphone, audio jack, and we've got a USB 3.2 Gen 1 port that's 5 gigabits per second. And on the bottom, there's really nothing except those BOGO pins. So if we pop off the keyboard here, we can see these are the attachments for this device. So it's a nice magnetic attachment there. For most of you, you're going to say, oh, well, 300 nits is not that much. But if you think about it, that is plenty bright for most indoor environments. In fact, I'm using this right now as you're looking at it from the camera, with the brightness turned nearly to 0. If I turn it up here, it gets quite bright, and you can see it is pretty vivid. And of course, the fact that it's actually quite usable at 0 brightness, if I can adjust that here, is actually something promising. That means you can extend the battery life. This is an IPS-like display. Chuwi describes it as an in-cell display. I'm not quite sure what that means, which tech is that, but I'm going to assume it's something similar to IPS. It has a similar look and feel in terms of the color reproduction and the actual look and feel. Now, this is covered by Corning Gorilla Glass, and it has a digitizer, so you can actually do all of your touch pen stuff. Overall, I would say a great display, a good aspect ratio for productivity as you approach the proximity here of this device. The keyboard itself will attach. Now, overall impressions of the keyboard are that it's pretty nice. And let's take a look at a little bit of a typing test here so you can hear the sound of this keyboard. It's a pretty decent keyboard. You can definitely get up to speed here quickly and get some work done. And of course, with this, you can do all of your Alt-Tab gestures and all of your Windows key shortcuts. And of course, on the touchpad itself, I can do all of my multi-touch gestures. I can swipe, I can do virtual desktops, and so on and so forth. So it's nice to see that, this works pretty well. I haven't really had much issues with it. And just one more word here to say about this keyboard. It is a backlit keyboard, so it does have this backlight button here on the F1 key. And it's comes with the 3 levels of brightness here. So we'll start with this. I'll try to cover this here a little bit so you guys can see. We have off, low, medium, high, low. So if you're in a dark environment, it certainly gets the job done. It's a single color, single zone, white RGB or white backlight, but I think overall it's functionally done so well. The next accessory I want to talk about here is this stylus, which you can bundle from the Chuwi website here. So as I mentioned, it's a typical stylus powered by a single quadruple A battery. Got a typical stylus with 2 buttons, so one for an erase or some function and one for a right click. There isn't a holder. There's nowhere on the device. It doesn't magnetically attach. I think that's really the main negative thing I would have had to say about this. So with the pen here, I'm just in my Obsidian Notes app. I can certainly draw stuff. I can write Chuwi. There is a little bit of a slight lag that is perceptible when you're digitizing stuff onto the display here. I'm not sure if that's due to the display's refresh rate or if it's the actual input capture from the stylus itself, but that is something to note. So you can see here as I draw quickly, it seems to have a little bit of a lag there. So especially if you're writing. You can also press the left button, for example, in this app and do some erasing. And you can also press the right button, get yourself a context menu to do additional functions. So it's pretty typical stylus, works well. I think it's a fantastic choice for just a few dollars more. Whereas with the Apple Pencil, you're going to be paying $100 US plus, depending on which version or iteration you get. That has an embedded battery. I don't believe it works with any non-Apple device. But some definite positives here about this stylus. If you like to draw, take notes, or just want to have something fun to play with every now and then, sketch a few things, this is a nice thing to have. And because it's so cheap, you can just take that battery out, have it nearby. When you do have that one occasion that you need to sign a PDF, pull it out, pop in the battery, you're good to go. I also want to say a quick word here about the sound of this device. It does have built-in speakers, but as you can imagine, they're quite anemic. So they're loud enough. I mean, if you need to get by in a pinch here, but I think you want to be using headphones overall. All right, and I just want to say a brief word about performance here. Specs and numbers don't necessarily mean a lot if the device isn't usable, and I found this device to be quite usable here. Here I can stream 1080p without any issue. It's streaming 1440p right now, but I can actually stream all the way up to 4K video on this without too much of an issue. As I can pan through here on YouTube, this is one of my previous videos I just uploaded a few days ago. Go check that out for the MX Keys Mini. Very, very nice keyboard for productivity and those road warriors. So a little bit of multitasking going on there, but as you can see that, you know, this device is more suited to single task oriented use or very, very light multitasking. And coming back to the CPU and iGPU here, I just want to say one more thing. So this is a quad core CPU here. As you can see that it's not actually hyper-threaded. That means you're gonna get is 4 cores here. It runs at a base clock rate of 800 megahertz, which is quite low, but actually I've never seen it really hit that low. Even with the battery saver mode on, it runs somewhere between 1.3 to 1.5 gigahertz. In heavy workloads, it can, Intel says, boost up to 3.2 gigahertz. It's got this 12 gigs of memory that's built in here, 4,000 mega transfers per second. It is DDR5, so thank you for that. We've got the latest generation of memory tech on board, and we also have here an SSD. I did run a Crystal SSD Mark test here, and as you can see here that it's pretty respectable for a PCI Gen 3 NVMe SSD. So we've got 2500 megahertz read and about equivalent 2400 megahertz of write. It's respectable, and the fact that this is an SSD and it's 500 gigs, I think says a lot about what some of the other manufacturers are nickel and diming people to try to maximize their profits. And finally, we've got Wi-Fi on board here as well. We've got Wi-Fi 6. You're not getting 6E or Wi-Fi 7, certainly not on the latest standards, but Wi-Fi 6 for most people should be sufficient. If you have a router or some sort of access point device that's supplied by your ISP in North America, that's Canada or the US, I think it'll be just fine with Wi-Fi 6. Most recent stuff will have that type of connectivity. With Bluetooth 5.2 on board, you can connect, your peripherals. You can use a Bluetooth mouse, perhaps a Bluetooth keyboard, some Bluetooth headphones. As for power and battery life, as I stated here, we've got a 36 watt hour supplied USB Type-C charger, and we've got a 36 watt hour battery in this device. Not the largest. Chuwi states it's going to give you about 5 hours of battery life. I side anywhere realistically between 3 and 4, depending on how heavily you are using this device. If you're doing a lot of 4K streaming, you can probably still get over 4 hours, close to that 5 hours mark. But if you're doing mixed use, some little bit light productivity, switching between apps, launching a few apps, running a few different tabs here, you're gonna get closer to that maybe 3 to 4 hour range there. So decently respectable, I think, for the size of this device. This display, I'm sure, uses quite a lot of juice, and of course it's an Intel CPU, so it's not gonna be energy efficient by any means. But that's not to Chuwi's detriment. I think they've built a great package here with a great offering, and actually works quite well. It does charge a battery, I think, decently well. It's within an hour roughly to fully charge the battery. There's no fast charging or any tech of that nature on board here. The two USB types ports on the left hand side of this device are both power delivery enabled, so you can plug it into any of these devices and it will begin charging the device here. So that's nice to see. If you've got one plugged in perhaps for a USB dock or some sort of other external peripheral, you have one available to you to charge the device as well. So nice to see that that option was thought of. Very thoughtful of Chuwi. Thank you very much. All right, and a few quick words here about the value proposition of this device. As I said here, you can go to Chuwi's website in the US if you're purchasing in North America, and depending on whether you're getting just the device itself, it starts at $319. As you bundle a few of these accessories I've spoken about here, the maximum you can go up to is $369. I think that is an absolute steal, as having something that around the house that you can use for entertainment purposes and a multi-purpose utility device that you're on with this at the couch, on the dining table with a little bit of sketching, and just get your basic work done if you're looking for something lightweight and for your very light use. That said, if we compare this to an Apple device, we're just looking at the base iPad here. Once you spec it up with the keyboard plus the stylus, you're looking at $677 before any further upgrades have been done to the storage. You're going to getting a meager 64 gigabytes on the iPad generation 10. I think that's absolute highway robbery. And if you're looking for something that's a little, of course, more powerful and more productive, full PC on mode, but it's probably overkill if you're just looking to do light usage or light multitasking or even just media consumption. Mainly, you're looking at about $1,200 as a starting price for the Surface Pro with a keyboard bundled in. So for what it offers, I think Chuwi's put together a nice combination of very compelling package. The screen sells this device as soon as you see it with the keyboard attachment and the stylus here. You're getting a pretty good rounded offering for most students and most people who are not going to be very heavily or very demanding of their devices. All right, it's wrap up time. So this was my review of the Chuwi Hi10 Max. This is a 13-inch tablet here. Particularly if you bundle it from the US website with the included key or with a magnetic attaching keyboard that also has a built-in trackpad and the stylus, you're getting a real multi-purpose, device that is very, very suitable to students, high schoolers, and people who just want to have something on the couch for surfing, watching your YouTube videos, your Netflix sessions late night, a little bit of drawing, a little bit of sketching, catching up on your email, and most people's light computing needs. Most people do not have need for very high-end graphics and very high-end GPUs and things of that nature. Unless you're a gamer, you know that you really don't need a lot of computing power. And this has a quad-core CPU that really gets everything done. It's a nice two-in-one form factor. It's pretty light. It comes with this felt cover on the back that doubles as a stand. It's got the right specs here: 12 gigs of RAM, 500 gigs of SSD storage for pretty much most people's needs. So Chuwi has hit it out of the park here. If you don't want to spend hundreds of dollars on a laptop, or you're interested in something that's more multi-purpose but you're not really sure, or if you just want to explore this form factor and see, hey, is two-in device really for me, this might be a great value option for you to get into. So thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you like the content. Please click subscribe, hit that like button, and share the content across to help this channel grow so we can continue to bring you more content like this. Leave me a comment below. What do you think of these entrants? What do you think of these products? Have you heard of Chuwi before? Are you looking for a two-in-one, or are you in the two-in-one market currently? And we'll see you in the next video.